Right, hello and welcome guys, and in this tutorial video we're going to be looking at the HackTheBox machine called Bastion. I actually quite like this box because it mimics a real penetration testing scenario, and a brief summary about the box is about harvesting credentials and then using those credentials to log in via SSH. So enumerating the box shows we have some SMB shares. We're able to mount the SMB shares and find out that we have a virtual hard drive on the shares. We mount the virtual hard drive, and within that we're able to recover the low user credentials, which is being stored on the SAM file. And once we get the credentials, we decrypt the credentials and then use it to log in as the low privilege user via SSH. Enumerating the box, we find out that there is a vulnerable application, which is a remote desktop application, which we can then use to, which could exploit. And it happens that this remote desktop application actually logs the user's credentials in an XML file. We extract this base64 password, we decrypt it with some tool, and then we get the password to log in as administrative user. So the first thing we need to do is to do an mmap scan. So sc-v10.134, which is the IP address for Bastion. So I've already done this mmap scan, and I got the results, which shows that we got SSH on port 22, we've got SMB on 139 and 445, and also got the Microsoft RPC service on 135. So I've done a lot of prep work for this. I've got a lot of resources I'll be sharing with you. So the first thing is to Google, and we could look for high on coffee pen test and tools, I believe. And we go to this blog or this, and if we do a quick search for Control F and we do SMB, enumerating SMB, so we can use the SMB client to enumerate for share drive. So that's what we're going to do. So we type in SMB client -L, provide the IP address, which is 10.10.10.134. Ask for a password, type in enter, and then we can see straight away we've got some shares, admin, backup, C, and IPC. So normally these are the kind of standard ones you see on the Windows machine, but this one actually stands out as unusual. So what we're going to do in this, we're going to mount this share drive, but before I do that, I'm going to create a share drive. So I'm going to make a CD mount, and then make directory, call this share1, exit that. And then going back to this blog post, we could just mount the share drive. So we can mount the share drive using the mount command. So let's see if anything talks about mounting here. So mounting file shares, we use the mount command, tag C, CIFS, and if it's got a username and password. This hasn't, so we just use that straight away. So we do mount -T, CIFS, then we provide the share 10.10.10.134/backups, and then the location where we want to mount the share. Okay, so I believe that's been done. So let's go in here and CD mount, CD share1. We do a list. You can see now we have access to the shares. So we go into this Windows image backup directory, and in here we find another directory, which I believe is the name for the PC for this user. So we do a list, find another directory in there called backup. go into this directory. And then straight away we can see we've got some virtual hard drives. 2 of them are actually here. So one thing is, there are 2 things we could do here. Number one, we can mount both the shared drives, but as we can see, we're unable to tell exactly what these shared drives are about. So one tool I used was called the 7-zip file. So 7-zip file, or 7-zip for Linux. So how to use 7-zip on Linux command. So go to my bookmarks. I'm not sure if I got this saved anywhere. So let's have a look. So let's clear this. So we could do, I think it's 7Z, is it? Yeah, so it's called 7Z. You install 7Z, and it's got a list of things you could do. So 7Z can list contents of an archive and also extract the contents of an archive. So what we're going to do is we're going to list the contents of this virtual hard drive to see exactly what's inside of them. So I'm going to employ 7Z here and list. So it says archive name, so provide the archive name. So the first one is this one here. Paste that here. And you can see straight away it lists all the archives of what's actually in this virtual hard drive. And what we can see here is most of the system boot files, which might not be useful, or it's not quite useful for what we need it for. But when we check the other one, which is this other virtual hard drive, and we'll repeat the same operation. It's taking time, but we'll see now that we got more directories, and it's also going to list the path, so we can see this is actually the one that has the juicy contents, because we can see Windows, system files, and all of that. So that tells us this is the virtual hard drive that we need to mount. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create another shared drive. So cd mount, make directory share 2. Okay, so we've got share 2 created. And then we mount this other one, which is the one we actually want to mount. So I've actually found a very interesting blog post which tells us how we could do this. There might be a better way to do this, but I think finding something quite different might be useful. So here someone was trying to see how do I mount a .vat file. And it was suggested that you could install this slutkey tool. So open a new terminal, zoom in a little bit, paste that here. And I've already installed this, as you can see, newly installed. So that's fine. So next thing we need to do is we use the VADI mount to mount the directory. And then we calculate the offset, which we then use to actually mount using this command. So that's exactly what we're going to do as has been described in this blog post. So the first command we need to do is the VAD mount. So we go back in here, do VAD mount, and the next thing is to the path to the VAD file and then the path to the share the mount directory. So since we're already in this directory, we could just provide this. So we copy this, and then we supply mount / share 2. I think I call that one. So I think that was successful. So it says VID mount, and it gives us some binary number. So what we need to do here is confirm that this has actually been mounted. So let's go in here, cd mount / share 2. If we do a dir, you see now we've got this VADI1 file. So we could actually run file against this to see what sort of file it is. And it tells us it's a DOS MBI sector, tells us about Windows Vista and partition information and stuff. We also can run file against it to see what kind of file are we dealing with in order to know this is a Windows VAD file. And it tells us here is a Microsoft Dix image virtual server or virtual PC. So now that we've got the this file, this VADI1 file, we go back to the blog post, and it says now we need to calculate the offset using this command. So we run this command against that file. So, and then we just run that again in this file, see what happens. Okay, so you can see here it gives us the size of the sector. So units are 512 byte sectors, and then it gives us the start, the beginning of the disks, and also an end. So this is the value we need to use. This 128 value is the value we need. So going back here, it says we need to echo this, multiply the value which we found, pipe that into a binary calculator. So we do echo, provide 128, and then we multiply that by 512, and then we pipe that into the calculator, and it gives us value 65536. So this is the value we're going to then supply in order to mount the share drive. Okay. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to create another directory, so cd mount, and then make directory share 3. Right, so we've got share 3 there. So what we're going to do now is to use this command, so mount, so we could do mount -o, and then we say read only, no load, comma offset, and then we supply the value of the offset, which is the value here, and then we provide the VADI file, which is this, and then where we actually want to mount this VHD image. So mount / share 3. So it's going to take a while because it's actually a very big image, like we've seen from the directory, from the archive listing, which we did earlier on. So once this is then completed, we can then go about browsing through this share drive and having access to the files and directories like we've seen earlier on when we did the directory listing with the zip file. Okay, so let's just see if this is completed. It's taking a lot of time, so we just wait for it. And you can see from the description, it tells us it's an NTFS file system, which is a traditional Windows file system. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. So I didn't quite use this command because I found out probably it's not quite necessary, but let's just see what the results is going to be. Okay, so the operation has completed. So if we go back a bit and CD into share 3, clear screen, and do a list, we should have access to the drive. And there we go. We can see recycle bin, config sys, we can see the hibernation page sys file, and we could actually see users and windows. So the next thing I did here was to go about saying, right, is it possible for us to actually download to extract the user's password for the SAM file? So the next thing I did was to just do a Google search to see where is SAM file located on Windows. So you can see here it says system root, system32, config SAM. So that's what we are going for. So we're just going to do cd Windows and then cd system32. cd system, I think it's probably case sensitive, not sure. Yeah, there we go. List. Probably I should just go straight for that config directory rather than listing it because it's taking a bit of time to do this. Okay, so while that is trying to go, we find out what tool do we need. So we need a tool called samdump2. And reading about this tool, we can see this tool retrieves system key and extra hashes from Windows 2K, Windows 2000, NT, XP, and Vista. And for enumeration, this appears to be a similar operating system which is using. So all we have to do is supply samdump and using these flags. So we provide us the system hive and the SAM hive for where it's going to dump the credentials. So this is taking a bit of time. Let's see if I cancel this. If the operation is going to listen. So let's just wait for it. A response. So see if it's possible for me to access this from another. So cd provide this /config. Still a delay on this one as well. It is quite a very big image, and I think that's what's responsible for this sort of delay that we're experiencing, but hopefully it should be fine. So I just want to make sure I'm able to ping the Bastion box. Yeah, so the box is still live. Okay, so we can just cd now, see config. Okay, there we go. And if we do a list, we should then see the files we're after. So I'm just going to wait for it. There we go. So these are the files we're looking for. So this is the SAM file, which contains the credentials, and we have to look for the system file as well. So going back to how to use this, we use enabling debug, might not be necessary, so write output to a file. So let's go into our Bastion directory and just touch hash.text. Okay, then going back here, we could then use the SAM dump 2. So you can see the flags. So SAM dump 2, and it says retrieves, and so we give it the system file, and then we also give it the SAM file, and then we give it the output file, which is root HTB or HackTheBox and Bastion, I believe. Yep, Bastion, and then hash.txt. I think I need to put the output flag there, so -O, and that should do the trick. So while that is going on, I'm just going to go to the directory and cd hashcat list, and I'm going to delete the port file so that it doesn't have previous hash contents in this file. It's going to remove this file and exit that. And just wait for this to complete dumping the hashes, and we should have the hashes in here. Cat hash.txt. Have we got anything there yet? No, nothing yet. So just wait for it. taken very long, but hopefully it should work. And then we have the hashes. We can then go about cracking the hash and logging in as the user, the low privilege user, as we mentioned earlier. Okay, so I believe we've got the file now, and you can see we've managed to dump the credentials for, or the hash, the NTLM hash for the user called this, and we can see administrator is disabled and guest is also disabled. So here now we can go about cracking this using Hashcat. So we could quickly just do a Google search for Hashcat hash examples. And say failed connection. Alright, so I'm unable to get that here. But if we go on to Hashcat, so we can do Hashcat and Hashcat-help. And if we search for NTLM hashes, we will see that the NTLM hash actually has the number, I think is 1000, I believe. So we could say grep NTLM. We can see NTLM uses the 1000. So that's what we're going to be using to crack or brute force the hash. So hashcat, and then we do -a -0 -m, provide the number, and then the hash, which is hash.txt. And I think we have to use the force flag to force the brute force into operation. Okay, I think there's an error there because I have to also supply the dictionary file. So the dictionary file we're going to be using is the ROCU. So user share wordlist /ROCU.txt. Brute force that and see what happens. And there we go. It's managed to crack the hash, and that's the hash here, Baru lamp J. So that's the password which we need. So we could just say nano creds and save that here, and also save the username, which is if we go back and cat hash.txt, you see this is the username. So nano creds, just put that in front here to just know that is the username for this. So cat creds, we have the credentials, and now we can SSH into the box. So SSH the username, copy, paste that in at 10.10.10.134. Ask for the password, provide the password, Beru Lamp J, paste that in, and we have a shell on the box Bastion. So if we do who am I, you can see I'm Bastion. So we can do dir, see where we are, and cd desktop, and do a dir, and that's the user flag. Okay, so privilege escalation. After enough enumeration around, do a couple of steps backwards. The first thing to check is to see if there are any files or any programs that are installed on the box, to see if they're, they might be outdated, they might be exploitable. So a good place to go to find that out is the program files. So sometimes if you have files or programs that are compatible with a 32-bit machine, you might be able to see that. So I can just run a command real quick, which is system info, to see what we know about this box. So you're saying access denied, so I can't actually run that command. So I went for it straight for this. So cd in here, do a dir, and the strange thing I found here was mremote-ng. So I did some searches about the mremote-ng, and I found this blog post which says ComSign Security says stealing password for mremote. So it talks about that the when this application is being used, it saves, the passwords are saved in an encrypted format, and it's saved as a base64 sort of file using a combination of a static MD5 hash, and then combining that with the password and using an AES 132-bit encryption algorithm to save the password into an XML file. So the other thing I found, I looked for, was where exactly is this file stored. So we could say mremote-ng encrypted password location. And it says, I'm not sure this is the right one. Let's have a look at another one. Let's have a look at this Reddit one. And it says it saves it in an XML file. However, the location of the XML file is what I'm looking for. So I know it says it's somewhere in the app data. So let's have a look at it. Can't really find the stuff. So in order to see hidden directories in Windows, you could do dir/a. That will show you any hidden directories that you might find. So we go back to this cd users, cd splash screen, dir. Go into this directory, do dir. So dir-a. And here we can see the app data, the hidden directory. So we go into the directory, paste that in, do dir. And I think it's in this roaming directory. So cd roaming, do dir as well, list the directory. We find the mremote-ng directory within that. Right, and when we do it, we can see it's actually in the comms XML. So let me just Google that real quick to see if it's going to bring up any location. So it actually says it's in this location where we could find the string. So all we have to do is to view the contents of this file. There we go. And looking through here, we can just have a look, and we'll see that here we go username, password, and something that looks like a base 64. And this appears to be for the user called lamp J, but that's not the user we're after. We're actually after the admin user, which is this password here. So cd the box, cd Bastion, nano creds. I'm just going to save this somewhere here. Okay, so now it's about decrypting this. So after probing around, I'm not quite sure I bookmarked that. So decrypt and remote ng. I think I just have to put GitHub at the end of that. And I think there's a tool. There's actually some here already listed at Bastion, but I don't think that worked. So I actually found a Java file, which is the one I think would do the trick. So downloaded this, save that into my downloads directory, cd downloads, and list, grep for that file. So I have the file, so I'm just going to move that file to my Bastion, where my our working directory. Copy the file there. Right, okay. I didn't name the file, and I think that's why we got an error. So move file name, and we move it into this directory. Okay, so we should have the file in here now. So I can just exit this. So this is the Java file. So we can cat creds. This is the hash we need. And then we could do java-jar, supply the file. And I think all we need to do is then supply the base64 encrypted password, and it should decrypt it. And there we go. The decrypted output is this. So then we could copy this, SSH, as administrator. Prompts us for the password, paste it in, and we got admin privilege on the box. So if we do who am I, you can see we admin, and we could then do a dir, cd desktop, dir, and that's the root flag over here. So very interesting box, quite simple, but it takes a lot of research, do a lot of Google searches to find the tools you're going to use for different stages of password extraction and then decryption up until this point. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this box, and thank you for watching.